welcome to my Twixtor tutorial. There's not really much to say, so let's jump into it. Let's fade out and then fade back in. So here I've got my clip ready. The first thing I'm going to do is trim it. So I just want this segment of the clip. The way I Twixtor my clips isn't really different from most people, and it's not really different to my method previously from previous videos and also how I used to just in general. But there are a few things I've noticed that can really help with Twixtoring. So for example, instead of taking out all the still frames from your clip, what I would do is nest it first and then open it up and then remove them within. And the reason why I'm doing that is because my main sequence, so this is where the edit will be on, it is at 20 frames per second. But anime clips and pretty much anything animated and also TV shows, they will always be at 23.976 or 24 frames per second. So if I cut out all the repeated frames and then nested it and then added Twixtor on top, it wouldn't be as smooth as it should because there are missing frames. So I will nest it first and then just click OK, then open it up and then change the sequence to around 23.976 or 24. I've noticed 23.976 works best, so I'm going to select that, hit OK, and then get rid of the still frame. So just make a cut, 1, 2, make a cut, and just keep on doing this. Cut them down to 1 frame each, highlight them all, head over to sequence and then close gap. Then I'll create a black video or an adjustment layer. It really doesn't matter. I could place anything. It could be a color matte as well, but black video it is. It doesn't really matter what the time base is. Just click OK, black video next to it. Then I'll extend the black video to around 2 or 3 seconds. That depends on the main sequence. Depends how long I want the Twixtor to last, so I can extend it further. Anyway, just check again. Is it 23? Yes, it is 23.976. So I can close this. Oh, and just to let you know, I do add color grading afterwards, so I would not add it to my raw clips, or should I say within the nested sequence. I add it on afterwards, so after nesting it. Usually I would use something like Magic Bullet Looks and then use a preset, but anyways, moving on. Search for Twixtor, add on Twixtor Pro. Now a lot of you are going to hate me for this, but my settings are like so. So image prep, I don't use contrast and edge enhance. I actually use delinearize, if I said that correctly. It's insane because I still can't pronounce it even though I've made like 2 Twixtor tutorials. I've noticed that this works best with anime clips, and I'll show you the difference between the two in a second, but I don't really change the frame in terp. I leave it at blend. I don't really see a difference with nearest or motion weighted blend, at least I don't think so. But with warping, I change it to forward. I know that a lot of you use inverse with smart blend, but again, I don't know why it doesn't really work well for me. And then what I do is I head 1 keyframe ahead and set the stopwatch. I set a keyframe by clicking on the stopwatch, then I head about 5 to let's say 10 keyframes ahead. I think I'll try 10, so 5, 10. Then I'll change it to something low, so it can be 5% or 10%. I'm going to try 10 for now. Graph that. I can make it easier just by doing ease in to the second keyframe and then just pull the handle to the right. I think it's a bit too high. I can see this weird bump on it. Do you see that? Just gonna go back and then redo that like so. Nope, I keep moving it up. I need to keep it on level. The thing is, I don't want the bump to be too bumpy or pointy. Something like this is fine, but this doesn't really work well for me. Instead, what I do is I pull the first keyframe's handle up or down depending on your graph and tighten it a little like so. So I guess that works. Then I head to the start and just click the reset button to set it to 100. Now obviously that is way too quick, so I'm just going to head 1 keyframe ahead, set that to let's try 50. That is too slow. I'm going to try 75. Not too bad, but I think I'm going to extend the clip a bit more, just a few frames ahead. It doesn't really matter. And what I'm also going to do is head, I think 5, 6 keyframes ahead. Sorry, I mean frames ahead, not keyframes. Head 5, 6 frames ahead from the last keyframe and set it to 1 or 2. So I'm going to try 2 for now and also right click, ease in. So what I've done here is made a normal graph and then it slows down even further. But the issue is it doesn't really look good. It's very stiff, and I think that's because of the clip itself. I could improve it by tightening up the keyframes. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's try that. Just move that there, lay that back. Even better, but could be better. So 5, 6, let me just move that there. It does work pretty well, but the clips are the issue. So I'm going to remove some of the frames, I think starting from here. So now I've only got 3 frames, which is quite difficult to work with, but I think I can do it. If I head back to my main sequence, you can see, yeah, that's it. That is the issue. It starts to distort, so we need to fix that up. Instead of 10%, I could turn it down to 5 and remove that last keyframe. I'll add it back later, but for now, let's hope this looks decent. Not too bad. See, the thing is, I want to get more motion, so that's why I've only got 3 frames. I think I've got an idea. So this looks pretty good. This first half it's solid. It's absolutely amazing. It's great. Except for the distorted bit at the bottom, but ignore that. It's the second half which is the issue. It kind of breaks. like UG. And this is where that final little keyframe comes in. So if I had 5, 6 frames ahead and set it to 1. Would you look at that? It looks perfect. So, I mean, I hope it looks perfect when I play it back. So let me actually play it back and then consider it perfect. So yeah, awesome, I think. So once it touches the final keyframe, it starts to break. But before that, it's perfect. Everything's fine. But after that last keyframe, you can see it starts to break around the edges. I think I can fix it by moving it to the right. No, I can't. I could change it to 0.5 instead and then move it to the right. I don't know if that would help. No, it doesn't. Oh, and by the way, to explain why I added this keyframe at the beginning, actually, there's an issue I kind of forgot. I had a reason why I did it a while ago. Now I just do it anyway. Might be for stylistic reasons or because it looks like it skips a few frames. So it makes it look like it's jumping frames or skipping frames, I think is the term, even though it's not. Anyways, I'm pretty surprised this turned out looking decent. Now I'm going to try using the settings that most of you use. So I'm going to be using contrast and edge enhance, and then changed, was it warping, I think, to inverse with smart blend. Already I see distortion on his nose. So this was before with my settings, and then after, it looks like this. Now in motion, it looks like this. You can see the warping really clearly on his nose. Yeah, I can't use these settings. It's not too bad, but at the same time, I prefer mine. However, what if I use contrast and edge enhance with forward? I think that actually looks better instead of using delinearize. So this is with contrast and edge enhance, and this is with delinearize. There isn't really a big difference between the two, but these are my settings for now. Also, this is something that turns out I don't have the RSMB plugin. Oh, I thought I had it the whole time, but that kind of explains why I don't use it. I don't even have it in the first place. But you probably know what it is, and I do recommend using it on Twixted clips. You can just add it after Twixtor Pro if you want to, but I do recommend exporting your clip first and then adding RSMB. Otherwise, you're going to be lagging a lot. Now, another thing I want to talk about is Flowframes. This is something I'm going to be using on my next few edits because it is absolutely crucial. Twixtor warping gone completely. So what I've done here is I've exported the 3 frames, so 1, 2, 3, and what I'm going to be doing is putting them into Flowframes for a much smoother outcome. So if I just import this into Flowframes like so, the first thing I want to mention is that if you go into settings and head over to encoding settings, I only just found out about this just now. For video encoder, you can select H.264 NVENC if you have a NVIDIA graphics card like I do. Usually when I render on things like Flowframes, they are quite quick, but GPU acceleration is a game changer. So I've imported it. I leave everything as it is except for the output FPS and speed. So I change it all the way to ×10, and then sometimes what I do is I change the speed from normal speed to 8 times slow-mo. Anyways, yeah, I leave everything the same and then just click on interpolate. And now it looks like this, and it is lagging a bit because it's at around 239 frames per second. But if I head back into my 20 frames per second sequence, as you can see, unfortunately, I can't just drag it in and then click keep existing settings, because if I were to nest it and then open it up and then try and change it back to its original frame rate, you can see it's not on here. It's about 200, and it's actually under name, so it's about 239 frames per second. Not an option, so I have thought of another alternative. So if you just get rid of everything, what I would do is create a new sequence, so new item sequence. To make it easier, I can name this one Flowframes and hit OK. Then what I can do is import it onto the timeline and then click on change sequence settings. And so now if I check the sequence frame rate, you can see it's at 239 frames per second. And if I go back onto my main sequence, I can always drag it onto it. So where is it? Right there, Flowframes, just drag it on top. I just opened it, drag it on top like so. Perfect. Keep existing settings. So main sequence 20 as usual, and then this one is about 239. I can continue doing the normal Twixtor method, so add on a black video, just extend it and do whatever. And so if I now add Twixtor on and create a regular graph like last time, so I'd be like 100, 5, 6, let's do, and then maybe 10%. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and set that to 1. Actually, I forgot to graph this first. I need to do that. Graph that like so. That looks all right. And then just pull that up a bit and set it to 1 over here. Reset at the beginning, but it's still not really working. So we just need to slow it down a bit more. So maybe like 20% instead of 100. Oh, and I can't forget my settings, of course, because look at his nose. It's breaking apart again. So warping should be forward. There you go. Image prep, delinearize. I'm actually going to get rid of the last keyframe. Don't really need that, I don't think so. In fact, I'm going to mess around a bit and see what's best. 5, 10, 15. Pull that over there and set it to, let's say, 5. And there you go. After messing around with the settings, it turned out looking very smooth. Unfortunately, I did only have 3 frames to work with, so it could have looked better, but that's just how it is. Once again though, I recommend using Flowframes. It is a game changer. Anyways, thank you for watching. Peace.